Greetings, family, and welcome to the Art of Rising. We are the Omziel Healing Sanctuary, and we're located in North Bergen, New Jersey. So we've started this new podcast, and we are interviewing, or rather talking with interesting people, just anybody who's really fascinating. And we happen to have a great brother with us now. His name is John Puzio. He's the owner of Ethos PT in Hackensack, New Jersey. So I'll just bring him on and have him say a little bit more about
Hey,
who
Omar.
he is and what's going on. Thank you and welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, yeah, why don't we just jump right into it, man? Let us know where you're from and what's going on with you these days.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's John Puzio. I'm a physical therapist. I own Ethos PT over in Hackensack. Basically, I do a blend of physical therapy, performance training, and kind of just helping active adults stay pain free, overcome injuries, and kind of do whatever it is they like to do. Um, yeah, I mean that's the gist of it, and obviously we'll dive into it a whole bunch as we go along.
Of course, of course. So, it's an interesting story how I met you, right? I met you at the YMCA, right? It's over at Secaucus, is it? Right?
East Rutherford. Yeah.
Right, East Rutherford, right. And that gym, I believe it used to be the gym for the Knicks, right? The New
Uh,
Jersey Knicks were practicing there.
Yeah, the Nets. The Nets when,
Nets,
we were
Nets,
renting the
exactly,
Izod Center back then, and then when they
exactly,
moved, it switched over.
right. Yeah, so as soon as I went there, it was like, wow, facility nice, and the basketball, and that's how I met you playing basketball. And I
Yeah.
always like to tell people that, you checked me once or twice, and I'm still waiting to get you back, bro. So
We'll get there soon.
I haven't forgotten about that, man. That wasn't right, man.
That's it, and then, just started
Mhm.
getting to chatting and, like
Yeah,
each other's vibe.
exactly. I started speaking to you about what is it that you do and your business, and then you told me a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, we do breath work and ice plunge. Are you interested?" And then you were like, "Yeah, sure. Come on, let's do it." And we started connecting, and we've already done a few. You've hosted us a few times there at
Yeah,
your
they've been all
place. So yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been great.
of course.
Great. It's been great. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, like where you're from and where things started, more or
Got
less.
Gotcha. So I've lived in New Jersey my whole life, Bergen County. Grew up in Carlstadt, which is, for most people, they don't hear of it. It's right by MetLife Stadium, so right next to there. And then I guess in terms of how I got here, I'll try to make it quick for the most part, but went to high school at this place called Bergen Academies. Super nerd school, and you have like majors. So I was an engineering major, loved math, sciences, physics. Kind of thought I was going to go down that route, but also loved sports. So over the years, accumulated injuries, got banged up a bunch. So was either in the athletic training office, or then I started going to PT for a couple more like intense injuries. Got a taste of that and was like, this is pretty cool, helping athletes get back to what they want to do.
Mhm.
It's science based, it's the medical field. So as a high schooler, I was like, okay, I could see myself doing this. And then we had internships for our whole senior year. So every single Wednesday went to a PT clinic, kind of made up my mind I was going to try that instead of doing something in the engineering realm, and just loved it. And from there, pretty much laid out a game plan of like, let's go to college, let's get an exercise science degree, let's go to PT school, and then let's open up a gym, basically.
Mm,
So luckily it's all worked out, but a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, obviously.
mm,
So went to Rutgers, New Brunswick, spent 4 years down there, came back home, commuted over to Rutgers, Newark for PT school, and
mhm.
then 5 years out of school now, so it's been a journey, but the business has been a ton of fun and it's awesome.
Yeah, so, when people think of physical therapy, they don't think of it as a super exciting or sexy field, bro, It's like
Yeah, most people dread it.
right,
We
exactly.
get a bad rap.
Exactly, exactly. But you seem to make things interesting too. But tell me, like, what were some of the struggles when you were coming up, and some of the decisions that you were making, and And yeah, how did that all happen?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess big obstacles I've hit in my life is both my parents never went to like college and went through that whole process. So that was tough. I was basically since I've been little kind of independent where even the high school I went to, I had to apply and take tests to get in. And they're just like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Can you just drive me to the school?" And got in, did that all kind of myself, and then college, same thing. They were super supportive, but in terms of having someone being like, "Hey, this is what you do. This is how you handle loans." Like, I just self-taught my way through it and
Mhm.
kind of
Mhm.
set myself up. Um,
Mm.
and that's always been like, it makes it a little tougher, but you really learn the ins and outs of stuff. So I think being independent and doing things on your own rather than getting your hand held through life
Mhm.
build a little character for sure. So that was
Mhm.
always good for me and kind of making my way through it. And same thing with the
Mhm.
business. Like,
Mhm.
didn't really have like an advisor or a coach, and just kind of like grinded through it. It was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it work. And that's kind of always been, I guess, how I try to tackle stuff.
Mhm.
Hopefully,
Mhm.
it pans out pretty well most of the time.
And how about your parents? They were like blue collar workers?
Yeah, so my dad works for, like, the water company in Bergen County, so he's been there forever. He is a absolute grinder.
Mm, yeah, that's
Works
one
like
of those
7.
jobs, one of those types of jobs, yeah.
Yeah, he I don't know how he does it. They're outside every day. He works, like, 70 hours a week. He gets tons of overtime. So, like, you know, he just, like, supported us for the most part and, puts his nose down, like, grinds away. So that's always been a good example, and then my mom cuts hair, so, yeah, I mean, she, like, used to work in a shop, and then I got a little brother, so she just, like, was a kinda more so stay-at-home mom. So, like, yeah, we were never wealthy by any means, just kinda middle class, and, like,
Mhm. Mhm.
the second I could, like, get a job, I did, Like,
What was that?
either first job was delivering pizza. So, like, the second I got a license was like, "Alright, like, got a car, great, gonna go make some money and, like, do it myself." But before that, like, me and my friends used to try to mow lawns, and we definitely weren't good. But like, we're little like eighth graders walking around town with lawn mowers, being like, "Hey, you need your grass cut," and somehow people trusted us. So stupid shit like that over the years, but always had that like mentality of like, okay, I'm gonna go make my own and not ask my parents for stuff.
That's good, that's good. Hard work, man, hard work works. Yeah, but that's good that, you came from that type of family. I'm sure that lots of listeners would think like, "Hey, man, my family, mom and dad, they were just workers," and
Yeah,
yeah, and that's okay too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, you
yeah.
know?
And, like, when I was real young, my parents were separated for a couple years. So, like, grew up going through that when I was, like, a little kid. They got back. They had my brother. I kinda was like
Mm, mm.
we have an 11-year age gap. So, like, grew up kind of raising him, if that makes sense. Like, more so like
It
dad
does.
number
I
2 than
have a
a brother.
brother, the same thing, yeah,
Yeah. So, like,
mhm.
that big age gap was like, okay, like, you're gonna babysit him, change diapers, like,
Yep, prepare
and
the milk.
yeah, like, I've helped him through school and stuff like that, so that was, like,
Mhm,
a cool, life and learning experience along the way as well.
mhm, mhm. That's good, that's good, but it must have been tough with your parents breaking up and at that age and being unsure about some things.
Oh, yeah. I was
Mhm.
5, I'm like, What's going on here?" And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
and luckily, they got back and they've had their ups and downs and everything, but
Mhm.
obviously grateful for that, so can't
Yeah,
complain.
just like all relationships, right? I have
Yep.
a nephew that he was telling me, "Wow, things are just going tough, man, and I just can't take it, and she's this and that." He gave me a whole laundry list, and he goes, "That's it. I'm done. I'm leaving," and all that. I was like, "Hey, look, I'm not one to give advice, but I'll tell you this. That's what relationships are,
For
brother.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
That's what
Been
they are."
been through those. Relationships are all about compromise. You're 2 different people, you're not gonna agree on everything, and, like, you gotta work your way through it and find how to live together and make the best situations out of everything.
Right. Yeah, because if you think that, like, for me, for instance, if I go, "Hey, you know what? I'll just leave my wife, man. I'll find somebody else. It won't be no problem. In fact, she'll be better." That's not true, bro.
Yeah, that's not life.
That's not life. No, because they come with a whole set of other things too,
For
you
sure.
know? But thank you for sharing that, man. Those are really things that help to shape and mold us as we're coming up. Because my dad too left when I was 9, and that crucial time right there, it was
Yeah,
tough, for me,
that's it.
coming into
It
the teen years. Mhm.
changes who you are and how you develop and your character and everything.
For sure, and then it helped me be a better dad too, because I have 2 young kids. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, so, it helps me to pay more attention, everything
Yeah.
counts here, like, everything, like, everything I say, everything I do,
Yeah, because you look back and you're like, "I remember those times, and I remember the things I wish would have happened or things you could have changed," and, like, that's it. You live and you learn, and then when
For
it's your
sure.
opportunity, you get to do things your way.
And then the commitment too. Right? The commitment has to be there, right? So that's
Yeah,
that's part of anything that is it that you want to grow. Any relationship. It's like being at a job. You don't like your boss, you hate his guts, yeah, so what? Like, this is the career you chose, and if you don't like it, then go get another job. But if you don't think there's not going to be another, bonehead boss waiting over there for you,
yeah, that's it.
there's gonna be one. Trust me.
You gotta make the best out of a situation.
Exactly, exactly. So you said that you went to Rutgers, correct?
Mhm. Yeah,
All right. Well, how was that for you?
I loved it. I mean, Rutgers down at New Brunswick was, like, the most fun and just an awesome experience, so,
Mhm,
luckily, I was able to live down there, like freshman year, you go in the dorms, you do that whole thing, you make new friends, and Rutgers is a huge school, so like, tens of thousands of people on campus. Joined a fraternity, which was great. So you end up in another like brotherhood because like you grow up with your close friends, and then you grow up, you do sports, and like those are ways you have a group, and then you get to college, and it's this experience of like, all right, you're on your own again, and
mhm,
then
mhm.
that was like a nice way to make new friends. They're guys I still talk to all the time and hang out with. So it's great. Like ended up being a second family and made it a lot of fun also. Like a lot of course, college is a lot of fun stories in its own regard. So
Mhm,
all good
mhm,
things.
mhm. That's good, that's good. College could be like a second home, and you get to learn about a lot of things, and, um, I was learning something the other day. I was talking about that little voice that we have in our head,
Mhm.
right? If you were to think back, like when you were 7, 8, or 9, or even 10 years old, you you would think about that little voice that you have, and you would probably remember that you didn't hear it when you were that age, right? But
Yeah, it's a
but
lot
but
different.
but they have noticed that once you start getting, like, into high school and into college, like, that voice is, like, pronounced, like, it's really there, and they said it could be some connection with us growing sexually too,
Yeah.
right? There can be some connection there where now the voice is there, with everything we do, every choice that we make, every friend, you know?
Yeah, for sure. When you hit those years, you question every decision you make in life, and then you get comfortable with yourself again, I think. And like as you get older, that quiets back down maybe a little. And for some people, it doesn't. And that's everybody's going through their own things. But for sure, when I think you go through college and then early adulthood and you start figuring out who you are and what you want to do, then it's like, okay, you can tone that down a couple notches.
Mhm. For sure, for sure. So you said that you're a couple of years out from college, right? 5 years, and you went for this physical therapy thing, right? You started liking it, and as opposed to, what was it? Engineering?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, right, right. So you went to physical therapy. What is it that you liked about it?
Yeah. So I guess from my experiences being a patient going through it was like
Mm,
one that I had a hip flexor strain, and this was like football season, and I'm like, damn, like I'm gonna be out a while. Like this sucks. Like I want to be back out there, and like that helped me get through it much faster in terms of recovery and be able to go do the things I enjoy. And I was like,
mm,
that's a cool gift to give someone. So over the years going through PT school and stuff and being able to like learn necessary things to have that tool set. And then now being a PT, I think it's fucking awesome. Like I truly enjoy someone comes in, can't do something, is down in the dumps, angry, upset, and then you give them that ability to recapture their life and what they want to do is the most fulfilling thing for me. Where it's you just have those little wins where they come in and they're like, I just went back to deadlifting, or I just like picked up my kids the other day and I didn't even have to think about my shoulder. And it's like those don't mean anything to me, but for them, that's huge. That's like their life, and you gave them
Huge,
that back.
huge.
So
Mhm.
I got a taste of it myself, and then over the years learned it a little bit and got to see it, and then now doing my own thing is like I'm in control of that, and I can truly help someone throughout their life.
Mhm, mhm. For sure, for sure. I mean, you see me back in the gym, right?
Yep,
And thanks to you, brother, for real. Yeah, yeah, you
you're
see?
doing good. You've been grinding.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. Oh, no, 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 I'm on it. I love it. I love it. So I was doing a lot of running because the
Mhm.
lifting was something different, but now I'm lifting more and I have a Spartan race coming up.
There we go.
So that was one of the things that we had spoken about in the last ice plunge. Was it Masagi? Masagi, I think it was, is that Japanese idea about choosing something that's hard at least once a year, something that you look forward to, that you're building, along with the water purification too.
Yeah,
So it's that cold river water or that ice water, that purifies your body and your mind from all of the negative energy. And then you're able to take bigger things on. And you've helped me with that big time, man. Thank you so
I love
much.
it, and that's it. I mean, you put your mind to something and you commit to it and go through it, and at the end of it, you feel so much better.
Well, let's talk about that then, right? Because you're 5 years out. You're not working for a company, although I looked you up on LinkedIn. I saw that you did some things, right? You did some
Yeah.
volunteering in the beginning or something like that, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
Uh,
I've been a ton of places, like, during school itself, you go through some clinical rotations.
mhm,
So, basically, you get matched with a company or whatever you wanna call it. You go there for a couple weeks and do a rotation, and then once I graduated school, I've probably worked 4 or 5 different places kind of over the past few years,
mhm,
before being able to, 1, financially be able to open a business, and 2, have the confidence for it too.
mhm,
So, it takes a while, like, it's hard to have the knowledge and the confidence to come out and be like, "I'm gonna do this all by myself." Like, you
mhm,
need mentors along the way, and you need to sharpen your skill set a little bit, so
mhm, mhm,
Um, but it
mhm,
was all good things. I mean, you learn a lot through every different chapter and obstacle. So that's like each job had their own, ups, downs, where I didn't like, for example, when you see multiple people at the same time and it feels like a factory and your
mhm,
boss is worried about numbers, numbers, numbers. Like I do all one on one. That's it. Like it is
mhm.
me and the patient, and you connect and you figure out their problems, and it's all about them. So, like,
Right, right.
you gotta experience the other stuff to realize I don't like this and I like that, and that's what I want to do instead.
Mhm, mhm. So here you are, you jumped around a few places, you learned and things like that. And then you started thinking, or did you already know, like, as you were coming toward graduation, like, yeah, I'm gonna go out on my own. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was always the goal. Pretty much since undergrad, and then when I got to PT school, it was like, okay, I want to do this cash PT thing. I want to do the one-on-one. Like, I started coming across other PTs that were doing that, listening to their podcasts or their free info and like videos, and I'm like, this is it. Like, it's gonna
Mm,
take a little time, but that is the goal. So
mm,
in 2020, after like the pandemic and everything, I got laid off from my job. And then I opened Ethos as basically a side hustle where I would just take my table, throw it in my truck, go to people's homes, either for PT or for training, and just a little bit here and there. You start
mhm,
word of mouth with a couple friends, and then you get a couple patients, and then you slowly build, and that gave me a little bit of momentum going into opening the actual office and being like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I've kind of proven the model to myself. And now I've got the guts to actually go do it.
And then you were like, okay, I'm gonna grow a pair over here and like just jump right into I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. That was the biggest jump was, pretty much, like, back against the wall. That was my mentality in terms
Mm,
of it, is, like, I quit my other job, I signed a lease for an office, and was just like, "Fuck it, we're going all in." Like,
mm, mm,
if it doesn't work,
mm.
too bad. Like, I'm gonna make it work. Like, I'm renting a space, I'm gonna pay for it, and I'm leaving my other job. Like, God forbid, whatever, if it failed, you're in it for a little bit, you go get another job, you pay your bills, and you survive.
Mm.
But my mentality wasn't to be like, I'm gonna go 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and kinda, like, teeter-totter. Was like,
Right.
I wanted to find a space and just, like, dive in.
Right. I've been thinking about this lately, and I've shared some of those things offline with you. And I am holding down a day job too, right? But
Yeah,
I also have these other dreams and aspirations, and I feel that the universe is like telling me, go do this and be here. The signs are there and everything. And then I think about some people, or rather, you hear people, they go, burn the boats. Just light a match to them, man, and just that's it. Just keep going. So I started these little fires like with matches, but then
yeah.
every time I turn around, I hear somebody with a spray bottle with water putting the fire around, and I'm like, what's going on? I thought I was supposed to burn the boats, but I'm learning along the way, and there's people depending on me naturally. I have 2 kids and stuff like that, so
For sure.
it's kinda like so I'm do all this research about what is it that I should do? How do people do these things? And, yeah, there's the motivation saying, burn the boats and just keep going, And then there's other people saying, now, wait a minute now. Hold on. Like maybe you should not go so quickly now because you could create some other thing, right? So, so,
Yeah,
so, so let's take you for instance. Are you living in your parents' home still?
yeah. So,
Okay. Okay.
literally, when you were saying that, I was thinking, everybody's got their own situation. Like, we've talked about this, as you said, like, supporting a family and kids is a different animal. Like, I am at home, my parents are awesome. I don't really have the obligations of a ton of financial responsibility.
Mhm,
Where for me, like I said, if I failed, I'll be okay. Like, it would suck and set me back a little, but I
right.
had the opportunity to jump all in. Where I do think
Mm,
for other people, it's tough. I mean, our mutual friend Matt, like, he's kind of going through that process, and he was texting me the other day. And for people listening, that's one of my friends I went to college with. He's also a PT. He wants to do kind of the same thing I do and open an office and go into this realm, but he has rent he has to pay, and he has a now fiance, and like bills that start to add up. And he's like, I can't just make a dive. Like, I gotta make sure I'm still paying stuff until I think there's this like break even point where like you can make the jump and you have enough either money saved or enough traction where you're like, okay, I'm
mm,
confident this can work. I just got to put the time into it. And that's, I think, the
mm.
toughest decision in knowing when you reach that point.
Yeah, Matt, we had him on the show the last time or the time before. I think it's episode 4 or 5, and
Oh, okay. I got to
yeah,
take a
he
look.
spoke very highly of you as he always does. He's a great guy, and yeah, he's been there for the ice plunges, and we've also spoken about some of those things, and how does one know when to go? Because that's really what this episode is about. It's about, hey, I'm listening to this podcast. I want to be a business owner too, man. I want to start my thing. I want to tell my boss to go f off, and and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it could be tough and scary.
And it's hard. I mean, I'm like a numbers person. So like I sat down and wrote it all out where this is what I have in terms of monthly bills. This is what I'm going to pay in rent. This is my projected cost. This is what I need to charge and how many people I have to see to cover these things. Like I enjoy that stuff. So like for me, it was if I get to this number, I'll survive. If I get to this number, I could start paying myself okay. If I get to that final number,
Mm,
now I have a business and I have a career. Like
mhm,
so it's those like setting up a game plan, and it doesn't have to be super detailed, but I
Mhm.
think it's important to be responsible. Like a lot
Mhm.
of people go in and just say, I'm going to make it work. And it's like, I love the motivation and the confidence, but also like we got to come in with some ideas and some structure to it.
Mhm. 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 For sure. And how did that look for you?
So for me, like I said, luckily, I'm home. So in terms of paying utilities, bills, stuff like that, not as much, but I pay a ton in loans. So I graduated with 135,000 and I put myself on a 5-year plan to pay it back. So I pay about 15 to 1600 a month. So that's
Mhm.
kind of like my rent and then, car, insurance, little things. So made a number of, I don't know, 2 grand to 2,500 that I need to make at a minimum to like survive. So before doing that, like, savings wise, put
Mhm.
away a couple months worth where if things went south, I had
Mm.
that in
Okay.
the back end. And then, like I said, I'd done it for a side hustle a little bit. So I put money in that account to be able to pay rent for the place, buy equipment, and kind of like prepared ahead of time with a nice chunk to do that. So it's like I was taking a gamble, but a very calculated gamble
Mhm.
where, and then I knew if I saw, let's say, like 10 people a week, I'd be okay, like enough to pay bills and kind of just stay afloat for a few months. When I
Mhm.
got to 15 people a week, like that was enough where I could start, you know, covering everything and paying myself a little. When I got to 20 a week, now I'm, doing very well. Like, so those like little milestones and running those numbers backwards.
Mhm. 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 That's good. That's good because I'm sure there's people out there saying like, "Man, it's difficult to save $20, you know." But yet they're at this point where they're like, "I can't take it anymore." You know, I want to do this thing. Like
Yeah.
that voice that I tell you about, the universe telling me this is where we want you, and then things start happening that prove to me that I want, that I should be there too. But then the pressures come on. So life just has a funny way of testing us and seeing, do you really want it
Yeah.
or you kind of want it, you
You
know?
got that right. And I mean, it's tough. Everybody's got their own like battles in different situations.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, like we said, we talked about this, and I know for you, like, what do you feel like are those? What would be like the indicator for you that you could leave the day job and make the jump?
For me, I think that the indicator would be for me to be bringing in the equivalent of or close to that what I'm bringing in on the day job, right?
Yeah.
But in order for me to do that, I would have to leave my day job.
Yeah,
You
that's
see?
that's the hard part.
You see? You see?
Yeah.
Because I'm a business owner too, just like yourself. It's a lot of work,
Yep.
bro. And we
A lot of
spoke about
hours.
that too, about the rabbit hole. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deep. Just when I think I got it, now the website, now SEO. I didn't even know what that was. Like, why would I put that in? They're like, no, you have to know about that and do it. Search engine optimization.
There it is.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my. Oof. Wow. I mean,
that's it's
it's just
when
a
you
little
start
just a
off,
little.
people
Mhm.
don't know who you are. They don't know how to find you. Like, you don't exist, and it's you
Right.
gotta find all those ways to get yourself visible and then grow. And I mean, for example, for me, I started using, like, advertisements, and, I joined a business coaching group, like, you know, maybe 6 months, 7 months after I opened the practice here, and that was huge. Like, I knew I didn't know it all, and I knew there was more to get out of the business and finding people,
Mhm.
and you need someone to teach you other things that you don't know. Like, you can teach yourself a little bit, but there's also experts, and there's people that know more than you do, and it's okay to utilize them. And it costs money, but if you're gonna get a return on it,
Mhm.
that's what it is. Like,
Right.
for
It's
example, that group was $6,500, and, like, it's taken me almost a year to, like, pay it off in increments, but I've brought in so much more revenue because of what I've learned and what I've been able to implement.
Right.
So that's where it's tough too. Like if you don't have the money to do those kind of things,
Hmm.
you're in a tough spot. It's like, all right, I'm stuck between a stone and another hard place. I'm like, where do I go from here?
Right.
But
Right.
for
It's
me, I
it's
made the jump, like opened the credit card interest free and was like, okay, like got a plan to pay it off, gonna put it out over time and then jump in it from there. So
mm-hmm. Right. Right. I heard the saying before that always stuck with me is it's the cost of doing business. That's it. It's just the cost. There's some things that you have to put out, and I've done that. I've done events where I broke even, and then I've done other events too where I put in a few $100, bro, probably more than I
yeah,
want to say right now. People don't know that, you know. They're just like, wow, that was great. I had a great time and all that. Yeah, maybe I'll see you again. And I'm like, I
that's the
did
hard
it.
part.
Yeah, I did it because I want my name out there, right? And then
Yeah.
people got to know us more, and yeah, maybe I gave out some money, a little bit more than maybe I should have, but those people are loyal to me now too.
That's I think there's a big aspect to that where like you can't expect anything back. Like if you're gonna do things the right way, you gotta just hope it pans itself out over time. Like I'll
Mhm.
do workshops and I do them for free. Sometimes I get patience from them. Sometimes I don't get anything, or sometimes they come in 6 months later when something pops up. But it's like that one person you might have talked to, they might not have become someone that is in your clinic, but someone they know they referred. And like it's hard to put a value on your time and what you put in effort wise, but like I've realized now that I've had the business like a year and a half, it's like those little things add up. And like
Mm.
people slowly trickle in from something you did a long time ago, and like
Mhm.
that's kind of how I think of it instead.
Right, right. And then it's always the
Yeah.
details, lots of details, right? So I have this wonderful story that I read where this gentleman said, close your eyes and visualize the car that you want to drive in. Right away, you would think, the Mercedes Benz X something or other. You would feel the car, the Corinthian leather. You would smell it, right? And you
Yeah.
would, the dashboard, the color that you want. But then, if he asked you what was the license plate number, right? You would go, I don't know. See, it's the details there. And that's where we leave things out when we're starting out a business. We think that some things don't matter. Everything matters.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, I run a business here. People come, like, the towels are clean and I have air freshener too. That counts to me. It's little things. There's toilet paper, there's, hand wipes, there's water, there's
Yeah.
beverages for people. Like, all of this, we're having an ice plunge, by the way, and I might as well throw this in, right? This is this is the commercial, the middle part.
There you
We're
go.
having an ice plunge here at the OMZL Healing Sanctuary located in North Bergen, New Jersey. You can just contact us. We're on YouTube. We have the YouTube channel, which is OMZL Sanctuary. We're on Facebook also, which is OMZL Jersey. And then we also on Instagram, which is OMZL Healing. And we're on Twitter too. So our name is quite unique. And anybody who's listening to this podcast, just let me know that you did hear this episode and we will give you half off. We want to try our best to make it affordable for everybody so they can see this healing modality that has helped me tremendously. The breath work and the ice has helped me in my business. Trust me, bro. It has pushed me into areas that I never even imagined. When things get really, really tough, people say they're going to be there and they don't. When they say they believe in you and they don't, I'm going to be there Saturday and they should call you on Monday like nothing. Hey, how's everything? You know, so, the ice water has pushed me into doing these things. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
No, I like that.
that's the commercial part of the podcast right there.
There
Um,
you go.
but yes, it's the little details, right? So, for instance, I've been to your place before, and you took care of me right? I told you some of the things that were bothering me in my shoulder, and you were like, okay, you put me through the ringer and checked me out a little bit and felt some things. And then you had me going through these movements, and then some things that I didn't see, but when you pointed them out, I was like, oh yeah, I am, weaker on the left side and things like that. And then we did like these little movements, for you to help me. And um then the other thing I loved about you also, that I do love about you, is that you were talking to me about other things, about, what am I doing? What do I like to do? And, how's that going for me? And with that alone, that conversation, you got to learn more about, some of those movements that I didn't know before, you
For
know.
sure. And I think that's important because everybody's a unique person, right? Like we have our own activities, goals. And unless you understand that about someone, you're missing out on a huge piece of it. So, like you said, the little details for me, that's building rapport, like asking what you like to do. What do you do for work? What is your family like? What do you guys do? Like, you find out little things that may, for me, give me answers to why you're in pain or what's happening. But also, then it's a point of connection where next time you come in and like, you can talk about that person's actual life. How's their family like? And that means a ton to people. Like, I I'll tell you this too. I keep like little cheat sheets on people. So when they're, chart after they leave that first time, I'll write down what do they do for work? Like, do they have kids? What are their kids' names? Like how like all those little things where when they
Mm,
come in next time I can be like, okay, we talked about this, this, and this. And like
mhm,
that makes someone feel warm and welcome and they remember that and they go home and they tell their spouse, like, oh wow,
mhm.
like I couldn't believe he knew this about me. And
Yeah. Mhm,
it's
mhm,
huge. I
mhm.
mean, and that's there's a great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is like a classic, and I tons of people read it, but I think that's something I took from it where I was like,
Is that by Carnegie?
yes,
Great book.
yeah,
Excellent. Yeah,
awesome read.
highly
And
recommend it.
the way you develop connections with people and pay attention to the little things goes a really long way.
Mhm, mhm. For sure, man, and, you knowing some of these details too, you would know, like, "Hey, I'm standing at a computer all day," and, yeah, maybe that's why your hip is hurting all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I don't know why." Why? Because we're talking about that. Because 'Cause I've been to the doctor's office like many listeners have been too, and the guy didn't even he I told him a few things, he didn't even touch me,
Yeah,
and
healthcare.
he wrote me a prescription and said, "Make an appointment, at the front desk, and I'll see you next week." What? It's like, "Woo, wow, who opened the window around here? It's freezing." Brrr.
I know. Our healthcare system in general is pretty broken where you're treated like a number, not like a person. And I mean, it's we can go down this rabbit hole a little bit of like, it's a business at the end of the day in terms of healthcare. And a lot of these big corporations and big places treat it like that, where you come in, you're part of the productivity scale, and they want you in and they want you out. And they just prescribe way too many medications. You're not actually getting to explain your story and what's bothering you. It sucks. And I mean, as you know, like that's what I prioritize is like come in, tell me everything. Like your appointment that first time is going to be like an hour and a half. Like we're going to go through it all. And when I'm actually figuring out what's going on, you should understand all of it. Whereas like when you go to the doctor and you go in, they take your blood pressure and it's high and they're like, here's your blood pressure medication. Rather than
Yeah,
being like, hey, what do you eat? What do you do for exercise? Like, let's fix your actual
yeah,
freaking
yeah,
body.
why is my high blood
Yeah.
pressure? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's so backwards. We treat the symptoms rather than treating the cause. And that is like healthcare in a nutshell. And if there's one thing people could take away from this is like be your own expert. Like you're the expert in your body, understand your health and be able to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
Find someone to give you those tools, but then go do it on your own and don't rely on medication, surgeries, injections, all this crap that we just are fed over and over again.
Right, right. And then you also gave me some tools too. You gave me these colored bands where, it isolates and focuses on those muscles that I didn't even know were there
Yeah,
until you told me,
those
and
rotator cuff muscles
yeah,
are a surprise.
yeah, yeah, and just strengthen me in that area, man. Wow. I feel it, man. I'm coming back, You see me, I'm with my notebook in the
I
gym,
love
like,
it.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah, I'm like that, bro. I'm
tracking
like
that
that.
progress, and
Yep,
that's huge.
exactly, yeah, because 'cause I'm doing something. I'm
Yeah,
going somewhere. I'm doing things that other guys, they're in the gym, they don't even know. Like, 5 last week, I can't remember, let me just do something that's difficult. Like, no, write it down, man, and,
yeah.
I'm
And that
I'm in
motivates
training.
you as well. And, like, if you track your progress, set mini goals, and see yourself going, it definitely helps continue on that journey and keep pushing.
Yeah,
Um,
John, I'm training. I'm not just working out. I'm training because I want to be the best version of myself. Like whoever made us, we're sitting in a Ferrari. We're sitting in a high performance vehicle. We should treat it like that,
yeah,
you know. And I want the best out of this vehicle. I want to be able to perform at my best, to push as hard as I can, and then push a little bit more. Like, man, I there I am at the Spartan races, and they have like the sandbag carry,
yep,
and as I'm going up the hill, there's sandbags that are thrown on the side. People just gave up or something. They just left it there. And I'm like, man, I would never do that. They would have to carry me off and I'll still be gripping that sandbag. That's just my mentality. That's
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 the
what
best
I'm
way to
there
do it.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no quit. And I love the car analogy is, like, such a good one because you only get one body. So you get one car, right? If you don't take care of that, the wheels are gonna fall off, the engine's gonna explode, and it's gonna crap out. So, one, like, what we eat is your fuel. If you're putting in garbage, you're gonna get garbage performance. That's
Mhm.
something I think's overlooked a lot. Like, put in good fuel, eat the right things, real food, no sugars, no processed stuff, and, like, you're gonna feel way better. In terms of your actual being able to move is just like the tires and the engine, right? Like,
Mm.
take care of your own body. Like, get your oil changed. Go make sure those things are staying intact. And then my corny little plug is I'm the mechanic. When something goes wrong, you come and you find someone who can
Mhm.
diagnose the problem and help you solve it. And, like,
Mhm.
that I actually use that one quite a bit in terms of the car analogy. So I loved you said that. It's just I think it fits so well, and it's digestible and makes sense to people.
Yep, yep, sure does, man. Anybody could relate to those things. There's people who treat their car better than they treat their bodies. You
You
see
got that right.
some guys, like their belly is far out, so out that they probably haven't seen their private parts in like over a decade, bro. Like, come on, there's
Yeah,
no excuse. It's just the foods,
bad.
Yeah, it's a mental thing. It's the little things. Again, there it is, the details too.
Yeah,
So I
and it's
wanted to I'm sorry. I wanted to also touch on some of the other details that you also provide, like these videos and this information too. So please, brother, speak on that.
yeah, so that's a huge part of, I think, someone's success is, 1, understanding what's going on, and then 2, what is your game plan for tackling it? So for example, like an evaluation. Say your shoulder, you have some pain. I'm going to break down what's going on so you get it. And then after they leave, I send them an email with a recap of everything that we went through, explain it all, kind of lay out the steps. And then, as you mentioned, those videos. So I do a lot of social media stuff, create like the videos of how to do this exercise or
I
just
love those
general.
videos. I love them. I love them.
Thank you. So I provide people with that. And then it's like, you're going to do this X, Y, and Z every day. And then you're going to do these other 3 exercises that are for pure strengthening 2 to 3 times a week. So you have that just framework where you know exactly what you're doing, why. And then when you come in next time, we go through that. We retest. We make sure you're on the right track. And then we add more. And it's just that constant game of, how are you doing? Let's figure out what we need to tweak until we get back to 100% or 110% and just get you better and better and keep pushing that.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I mean, I've been to physical therapy before, and nothing, no, nowhere near nothing like that, bro. Nope, nothing. They just there was different machines like electrical,
The electric stim, yeah.
growth stimulation and things like that, and okay, see you next week. And that was it. You know what I'm saying? Am
Yeah,
I getting better here? They're
and you don't
hoping
know.
you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad out there. So that's people get a bad taste of physical therapy, and that's not what it is. Should be it should feel like training, but on a scale where you're slowly working your way up and getting back to what you wanna do.
That's really the goal right there. That's it. And you do that so well. Like you cover all these different bases, and then the facility that you have too is just beautiful. From the first day I walked in, man, so nice, clean, simple, minimalism, that's it. Just keep it minimal.
Yeah,
Now I also see that you are pairing up with someone, right? Doing this other type of work for cardio, which I want to get into that. But tell us about that, brother.
sure. So, met with Dr. Jan recently. He's a chiropractor by trade, and, he's gone through the kinda typical chiropractic route back in the day, had his own place. Now he's really more of a sports performance specialist is kind of what he terms, and he does a lot of resting metabolic rate, body composition, and then what you were referring to, the VO2 max. So super cool. Where we're kind of combining, where I love the mobility, strength, and kind of functional performance aspect, and he's more in that cardio realm, where we don't step on each other's toes, but both of those are so critical to health and function. So what he's going to do is bring in the equipment here. We have a treadmill. You could do a VO2 max test here and utilize him, and he does all that. And then
Mm,
obviously for new people, I do my own thing. And
mm,
then we're trying to work with a third person who does more of the blood work and kind of metabolic and comprehensive health. So the three of us are putting together something cool. So I'll definitely keep you updated on that, where we're trying to say you want to get an overall look at your health, you get a little bit of like the blood work stuff and where you're at metabolically and all those things, the cardiovascular stuff, and how is your cardiovascular system and that engine, like what can you actually do with it? And then on my end, what is your mobility, your strength? Can you squat, lunge, pick stuff up? Like looking at all of that. So you get this nice broad overview of your health and longevity.
mm. Yeah, yeah, I see that. I see that. And that's genius, man. Just putting those combinations together there. I'm looking forward to doing something like that because I don't think I've ever quite done anything like that before.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
yeah.
cool. I did it a couple weeks ago for the first time.
How does that look? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you are basically hooked up to a mask, for the VO2 max, and, it
I saw that
basically
as the Bane mask, right, from
yeah,
Batman.
it was funky, you gotta get used to it, but it's essentially measuring how much oxygen you can utilize, and it gives you a score. So you start on a treadmill or a bike, you start at a slow pace, you slowly, like, work your way up, and you're reaching what's called your, like, anabolic threshold, where your body is no longer really using just oxygen, and it's starting to use the stores in your muscles and your system overall. So you burn through it way quicker. So you're basically hitting that max. It's a max effort test by the end of it, where how much can your body produce and what is your cardiovascular fitness? That's the simplest way to put it. So for example, you get a score and that correlates with like your age bracket, and you can either be, poor, fair, good, excellent, superior. So you get an idea of where you're at in terms of that.
Mhm.
Um, but the cool part is, say you're in the fair bracket, right? Like you're not awful, but you're not doing great. That's going to naturally decline over time. So if you're 30 or 40 and you're in that bracket, when you're 50 or 60,
Mhm.
you're SOL. Like,
Mhm.
you're not gonna be able to do the things you wanna be able to do because your health's gonna decline and you don't have the capacity for it.
Right.
So that's where the longevity piece comes in, and that's what we're trying to kinda get across and show people is like, "Hey, you're young, you're doing okay now, you could be better. This is why. So you can live life to the fullest for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So yeah,
That's great. That's what I'm looking for, as you
yep,
already know, right? You see? So, by some people's comparison, I'm a little more up in age, right? Which, I got this buddy that he's always saying, like, wow, you always have this wisdom. And, at your age, he's always giving me this thing. And I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Like, I feel like 20. I, I do. I might not look 20. I get that because that's just the car, erodes and stuff like that. The paint job and, it gets a little white, and stuff like that.
yep,
But in my mind, I said, "Like, you just don't understand. Wait till you get older. You're gonna feel just like it's just that your body doesn't respond. Your
yep,
mind is the same. It's just the same. You don't make the same mistakes or you shouldn't, right, at some point, but
yeah,
the body, it breaks down. And when I started getting serious doing these obstacle you call them OCRs, obstacle course or OCR races,
yeah,
obstacle course races, right,
yeah.
Spartan? The first time I did it, it was ugly, man. I was screaming. It was terrible. And then it took me like 3 days to get out of bed.
Yeah,
But then as I
they're
started, like,
tough. It is a
th
tough
then
one.
then I figured, like, I have to train. Like, I thought I was just going to the gym. I'm like, and, I gotta really get it now. And then I started pushing hard and training hard. Oh, no, I'm out of bed like nothing, like, that night and the next day, like, I'm back out running like that. Yeah, it's only because of the body. I'm
That's it. If
keeping it constantly pushing.
Yeah, if you put in, the work, your body responds. And like you said, age is a number. There's, you know, a natural decrease as we get older in certain things in terms of muscle mass and our recovery and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But if you're doing the right things, you're going to feel young and you're going to feel great for a very long time. And
I've
if
seen
you
guys.
don't,
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I've seen guys like 80 years old, like they're still in the gym lifting heavy.
yep, I got a couple guys, late 60s, 70s that come in here and work on
Mhm,
things. And it's like, it's inspirational because, like, I'm 29 right now, going on 30, and I'm like, getting old, but I'm not. I feel great, but my goal is to, when I'm 70, still
mhm.
be moving, be able to do the things I want to do, work out,
Right.
play with my
Mhm.
grandkids one day. Like, that's what it's all about. So it's making sure you're
Yeah,
setting yourself up for the
it
long term.
should be. It should be. I see some guys that are younger than me and, like, man, they're a mess, bro. Just like, there's no excuse to be walking around like that, bro. There's no excuse.
Yeah.
It's all in the mind. And plus, I have 2 young kids. I have a 6 and an 8-year-old, and they just might wanna rise up on the old man one day. I gotta be ready?
Always got to be ready, put them in their place.
Stay ready. Yeah, if you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready, right?
That's true.
But tell me a little bit about the business aspect, right? 'Cause we're wrapping some things up here. Tell me about some of the challenges that you faced, maybe some that you didn't know, or some that you had an idea and then you went through them. You're like, "Oh, I had some idea, but I didn't know it was like that." Tell us some
Yeah,
of those.
I mean, a couple are, when you're a business owner, you wear every single hat. Like, you do absolutely everything, and there's no one else to rely on. If you're lazy, you suffer, like, directly. So that's, you show up to a job, sometimes you're, half effort and you get by and you clock out and you're done. Like, if I'm not all in, my patient's gonna realize, like, this guy really doesn't give a shit or what's going on, like, and you lose directly. So, like, you know, whether it's something at home and you're in a bad mood, or the business isn't going well and you're in a bad mood, or you're tired that day, like, I put a fucking smile on and I show up and I work every single day. I don't call out sick, and, you know, if I'm really sick, sure. But there's no giving half effort. Like, that is a challenge you think you realize until you're there and you have a slow week of work and the money's not coming in, and there's no falling back on anybody else. Like, you got to buckle up and, like, go work harder. And for me, the shitty part is, like, when you get people better, you lose your income. So it's constantly grinding to find new people and go help new people and get other sources of referrals from gyms or ads or word of mouth. So it never ends. I mean, I can't just rest and be like, okay, I'm at a good point, because that
Mhm.
goes away and then you got to get back to it. So
Mhm.
it's a fun challenge. Like, all of it's a fun challenge. Like, I've learned to get out of my comfort zone so much, where I'll reach out to a gym and have to go cold call or send them an email and be like, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I want to come meet you guys. I want to maybe provide a free workshop." And like, some people don't want to be bothered. So you got to be okay with denial and being rejected. Um, or you might think this client's going to come in and this is going to be great, and then they ghost you. And like, it's all those little things where you can easily get frustrated and want to quit and give up, but you just keep going, and it's going to work itself out for the most part, as long as you're putting in the effort and you're dedicated.
Right. That's what I usually tell people that if you try something, man, you never know what you're going to get. But if you don't try anything at all, you know exactly what you're going to get.
Yep.
Nothing.
That is a fact.
Right, right, right. So how about the putting it all together, the business? I'm sure there's some other things behind the scenes. There's accounting. How's that look for you? Are you the accountant too?
Yeah, I mean, I am in charge of all the numbers and figuring out what I got to make and what to spend money on and how it's going. So, wrapping up the first year of business was like, okay, how do I handle taxes and make sure I have enough money set aside to pay those? What did I make and how did it actually look in terms of, you have revenue. That's not what you take home. There's expenses, then there's taxes, and figuring out what that looks like. I've had to increase prices over the past year and figure out, like, okay, where did I start? I know I have to go up. What's reasonable? How do you introduce it? How do you get confidence charging it? And like, all those little things. Like I said earlier, I like numbers. So I sit and I think about these things and write it out, but it's hard. I mean, you have to be responsible for all of it and stay on top of it.
Right, right, for sure. Anyone out there, many people I'm sure listening want to be business owners, and it's a lot. It's a lot. You know that with myself too. Sometimes people say they're gonna be there, they're not, and and then I gotta clean the toilets. Like, who's gonna clean the toilets?
Yeah.
Who am I gonna bring somebody in? There's nobody to bring in. There's just me. You know.
For sure. And then the little stuff too, I think, people don't think about health insurance and retirement and workers' comp. Like,
Mm,
you have to be prepared for all of that. Like, I pay my own health insurance now instead of a employer paying for it. I have to make sure I have money saved. If I get hurt, the business kind of stops until I hire people and it's a true business. Basically, you're working a job and you're paying yourself. But
mm,
until you hire people and other people can make you money and the business can stay afloat without you, it's not a true business. So
mm,
that's like the next steps.
mm, mm.
'Cause until you reach that point, you're working hours and paying yourself.
I see.
Where
I see.
yeah,
I see.
um,
That's a different mindset. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I've heard that, on a couple different podcasts, and that struck home because, like,
Mm,
if I wanted to take a vacation for 3 weeks, there's no money coming in. So, is it a business? Like,
mm,
not until, I have
mm,
employees and it functions on its own.
mm. Wow, wow. Yeah, yeah. I've heard something similar like that too. They say, "Oh, you're a writer? Yeah, you think you are? Have you sold anything? Like, are you a
Yeah,
painter? Yeah, have you sold a painting yet? Or are you selling them regularly? Are people doing that in your name? Like, okay, then now it's a business like that. But other
yeah,
than that, you're doing the thing, but you're growing it. This is like your determination and your will, and you're willing to fight through anything that comes along your way.
yeah,
This I see this in you, man. That's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, bro.
and that's what it's about. That's the fun part is, it becomes your baby, and, like, I wanna watch it grow and succeed, so I'm gonna put in the effort to do so.
All right. Well, then, with that note, why don't you tell us the future of Ethos PT? What do you see more or
Well,
less? Because, of course, as time goes by, things change and shift
yeah,
and stuff like that. But yeah, tell us.
like the long-term goal is a wellness center, meaning physical therapy, but also training where there's a gym side to it. And then, this blend with the two new kind of docs I've been talking to in terms of VO2 max testing, body composition testing, blood work, and holistic treatment. Like that all should be able to be found in one place. So that'll slowly become the long term goal. In terms of the short term, hiring another PT who is in a different niche than I am. Like, I am much more in the strength training and sport realm, where maybe someone who does more runner specific work, like that'll be the next steps. Get someone in here to be able to expand and help a little more people and like have them be able to go do workshops that are different than what I like to do. And then hire admin and just slowly expand. And again, back to what we were just saying, make it something that I can step away from and it's its own entity that people can come and get whatever they need.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, we have a comment there. Someone left a comment. Yeah, great
Love it.
interview. Yeah, that's just that's great, man. That's beautiful. I usually tell people, what's the company that you like or the group of people? What is it that they're doing? Who are they? And they go, oh, yeah, man, I really love this guy and how they're doing this and putting this stuff together. And then I tell them, well, how do you think they did it? How? And they'd be like, and I tell them they just did it. That's how they did it. They just got up and they did it. That's it. You don't know
Yeah,
how it's gonna turn out. It's just one foot in front of the other. Just keep going and try something new and try that and then let it go and like don't give up. Just be out there and
for sure.
take a chance. Take a chance, man. You
It's really,
know.
I mean, you have to learn to just roll with the punches. Like, it's not going to all go according to plan. Nothing in life does. So you start, and then when something comes, you pivot, and then you pivot again, and you just keep going until you find that end of the line where you're happy and you've never really solved it, but you just keep adapting.
Right, right. Yep, that's it. Just keep adapting, adapt, adapt, adapt. That's it. Yeah. Every company does that.
Yeah.
You have to. You better,
Yeah. That's it.
right? Yeah, because if not, you'll get left behind. They'll eat you alive. Yeah, yeah. That's why the hard work works, and paying attention and learning, always be the learning for
Yes.
me. Always learning because the fact is that some of the things that you have that you take for granted, somebody wants those things, right? Some things you take for granted, that little business you have, you know, or that wife you have, right? Or that, car you have, or the house you have, there's somebody out there, they're nice people, but they want that, you see? So are you going to keep it or are you just going to let them take it away from you? You earned it. It's your baby. Like you said, you're growing these things around, you're creating this life. You're going to let just somebody come in and just like muscle you? Nah, no, man.
That's it.
It's
Got to keep working at it.
sacrifice too much. Me personally, like I'm just at that point where I've sacrificed too much. I've given too much of my life and all my energy and knowledge, and I'm not gonna give any of this up. No way. Yeah,
That's,
and then
I like it.
this platform that we have too. If people are not impressed with this technology, it's incredible, man. We get to reach the masses. I'm having fun with it, bro. Really, I love
That's
it.
what it's all about, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm happy you're doing this and you're getting people and interviewing it and having conversations because it's great to listen to. I think everybody needs that, and when they find a good match for them, they really connect with it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you. And I've already put up your website right there up on the
Awesome.
screen, but maybe you should just let people know
Yeah.
what it is.
So you could find me at ethos-physio.com or just Google Ethos PT Hackensack. It'll pop up. Instagram is pt.ethos. Post a ton of stuff on there. That's probably where I'm most active. And then you could always look up Ethos PT on Facebook or YouTube. I'm on both of those as well. YouTube is cool. I break everything into playlists. So, say you got a shoulder issue and you wanted to go look through some stuff, click on shoulder, and there's tons of videos on there. And then obviously you can always reach out directly, ethospt.john@gmail.com.
Mm, okay. Well, thank you so much, brother. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
you
having
being
me.
on the show, of course. Let's do it again very soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you soon. All right, guys, there you have it. Wow. That was amazing, bro. That was amazing. I love it. I love it. He's so filled with information on business and the physical therapy and makes everything so interesting. So, yeah, if you have any more questions, look him up or look us up too. Omziao. See what we're doing, with PT Ethos or Ethos PT, right? So just let us know. We're doing ice plunges at his place, and yeah, there's different events that are coming up, which we did want to make an announcement also. On June 15th, we are having a musical event with energetic food and lots of live performances and an open mic. So, yeah, just let us know if you're interested in that. We're going to be putting out some more information concerning that. So, thank you for attending the show and see you guys soon. Peace and love.